Hey everyone, it's Marla, Twinstrology. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about twin flames, astrology, and ascension. So, what I want to talk to you about today is kind of a broad image of what 2024 is going to be for twins. And then we're going to talk more specifically about the Capricorn new moon that's happening on January 11th. But let's start by talking about 2024 and the energy that I was picking up coming in. So it's going to be a very big year for twins, only maybe not in the way that you think. Of course, I do think that a lot of twins are going to experience a lot of developments as far as their twin journey goes. There'll be a lot of expansion and there'll be a lot of reconnections for many of you. But what I'm talking about specifically is taking the lessons that you've learned on the twin flame journey, taking that knowledge and using it now to work on healing the collective. So it's a little bit like a graduation, if you will. Now, it's not like we haven't been doing this to some extent, but there's going to be a real focus in 2024 for twin flames and other people that are on the spiritual path that have reached a certain level to heal the energy of separation. Now, you can see how you on your twin flame journey are the ideal person to do this because through these very challenging lessons that you've had with this one person, you've healed a lot of your inner separation wound. And many of you coming through this shift that we had in December and that we're still integrating and grounding, you're coming into this much more stable place. There's less need to focus on your person and be preoccupied with your person all the time. Doesn't mean that you're not still feeling love for them and you're not still desiring to be with them. But it's like this whole new purpose is going to be opening up. Now, we have talked about this a little bit in the past, right? That everyone is leveling up in some regard when it comes to their purpose. And so, for most of you, you're bringing in something that is helping heal the separation wound within this bigger humanity. Whatever that is, whatever kind of creative work you're doing, that's what your focus is going to be. And a lot of you that are going to be like reconnecting with your twin this year and next year, it's because the time is ripe now to go deeper. It's almost as if we can't get any more into a polarized energy. Of course, I'm sure that we could, but there's so many ways that we've been sliced and diced as a collective and forced into these little boxes of identification. And you who have been doing your work, you know that this is not the totality of who you are. That you're not about all these individual identifications, but you are this soul, and that you are one with everybody else here on earth. And that, we need to stop looking for ways to separate us and to create hatred and intolerance. And we need to look for ways to heal and bring forgiveness and to bring balance and to come together in this energy of one. So, what is this first step? Well, as we go through this portal that we're in now, you're probably feeling like you want to step away from judging other people or judging things that are going on around you. You may even be feeling like you want to step back from the world a little bit and kind of go into your own bubble. And that's going to be helpful for a lot of you at this time because the polarization is getting quite high. And over the next couple of months, it might ramp up a little bit more. I'm sensing that there's some darker energy that's going to be moving through that might catalyze certain things. So it's probably good for you to kind of step back and pull out of witnessing all the polarization, if you will, that's happening. So, yeah, stepping out of judgment, that's going to be a test for everybody because it's been centuries and centuries on Earth where we haven't been in this energy of judging everybody else. And that includes judging ourselves as well. We have to kind of step out of that in order to move forward and take this next step in our mission because for many of you, you're going to be challenged with speaking out and expressing yourself about something that may find that you are getting the finger of judgment pointed on you. And so, one of the best ways to neutralize that is to remove the energy of judgment from within. But our minds naturally want to judge things. We can even use kind of the nicer word for it, which is like discern things. But the mind tends to use all of this energy to kind of prioritize things, defend things, to organize and order things. And sometimes then we find that we sense that we're superior or inferior to whatever it is that we're judging. So when it comes to all the polarization, it's natural to want to take a side and feel like our side is right and therefore the other person's side is wrong. But when we do that, we're just continuing the cycle of polarization. So I think in the first few months, right, and we're due to have some eclipses at the end of March. So I think between now and then, we're going to have these opportunities of just practicing stepping out of judgment and coming into a place of neutrality with things. So just being the observer of things without needing to judge things or without needing to make it about us, if you will, and like where we fit in or our role. When we look at it as the observer, we create that separation from all the emotions that are part of it. So when we step out of that judgment, we have to accept everybody just as they are and exactly where they're at. Now, this is one of those ways that the twin flame journey has served you well because you've needed to do this with your twin. You've needed to like step out of all the emotionality of it and not judge things on the surface. Because a lot of times when we judge things, we are not necessarily judging the truth of the situation, but we're judging things based on our emotional reaction or our presupposed suppositions of what should be. Basically, that's our programs. Like, however, we're programmed based on our makeup, our soul journey, our family, all our beliefs. We judge from that perspective, and everybody's perspective on that is going to be different. But coming to this place of non judgment for your twin has helped you come into a place of unconditional love. And that's what we need to bring when we make this shift. And let's be clear, it's probably not going to happen like one day everyone's just Oh, we no longer judge anything. Like anything on the spiritual journey, like we've experienced with the twin flame journey, even there's been these ups and downs, and there's times where we can do it much more easily, and then there's times where it seems really hard. And that has a lot to do as well with the ascension energies that are coming in and that are creating those shifts. So yeah, it's something that it's going to have a learning curve with it. But a good place to start is looking for compassion and common ground. And that is going to help bring you into a state of forgiveness. But if we can maybe sense forgiveness has more of detachment, because when we can't forgive, it's like we're attached to this negative thing, whether it's a person, situation, a belief, and that keeps that energy, cycling within us. So we want to detach through forgiveness. So, think of it in that way. So when we step out of judgment, we're able to accept people how they are and exactly where they're at. Now, the twin flame journey has prepared you so well for doing this because it's taught you, I hope, or, some of you might still be going through the lessons of learning to accept your twin and continue to love them no matter what is going on with them, because you're seeing the divine in them. And we're meant to take that energy to everybody and be able to identify that every person is a divine aspect of God, regardless of how they're acting in that moment. And, Saint Germain tells us, how we can work with those feelings, and we'll read about that in the discourse in a moment. But you've learned how to love your twin unconditionally. And now, when you get into those situations where the temptation is going to be to judge people, you bring that sense of compassion to that relationship. When we bring compassion, we can often find common ground with the other person, and then we don't need to go into all those little identifications that want to seek separation. Because when we look at the human condition broadly, we all want the same things. And it's kind of an illusion of the material world that keeps us pitted against each other. Be of the world, but not in it. I'm sure many of you have heard that saying before. It's like, witnessing things that are going on, but witnessing them from a detached place. We don't need to force other people into our point of view. Sometimes silence is golden. And so practice maybe letting other people speak and then not even responding in any way, just allowing them to speak and not reacting, not trying to cause an argument, not giving your perspective, but just holding space for them and see what happens, see how that might diffuse the situation. As I said in another video, it's really not about us coming in and forcing the truth on other people by like clobbering them over the head and saying, this is the way. People have to come to their truth in their own time, and it's their own awakening journey. It's more about leading by example and maintaining a strong and steady vibration that will energetically affect those around you and wake them up without you really having to do anything. Think about the energy of a triangle. And at the base of the triangle, where it's wide, you have all these different frequencies. But as you travel up in the triangle, and we could say, like, as you travel up in your spiritual journey, in your consciousness, becomes more and more and more tighter, less frequencies, until when you get to the top, you're harmonized into the same frequency. It's kind of like that twin flame card that's in my deck. The same energy flows in each of us, and we just need to allow the energy to do its work, because the energy brings you together and harmonizes you. And it's really not about, for example, like you going and telling your twin, well, this is the truth and this is what you need to see and you need to wake up. Like, that's not going to do anything. You just let your vibration change, and that vibration is going to affect them. Now that twins have done that in so many ways, now our vibration is affecting the larger collective. And yeah, we don't need to say anything or to force people into anything, because that's just really doing what kind of the negative energy is right now. It will just happen naturally as long as we maintain our vibration. So when we climb to the top of that triangle, what is at the top there is the vibration of love. And love is God. And so slowly, as a collective, one by one, we begin to live by the old adage, what would love do? Or you could even say, what would God do? And our life begins to change more and more because we're becoming pure. We actually are embodying love. And everything you do comes from a place of love. But you can see that coming to this place of love requires us to step out of the energy of judgment. So you can imagine this is going to take some adjustment, because it's been so long, like we don't even know, like, what does this look like to begin to change a society in this way? And we're just so near the start of this change. We really have to have deep faith right now. And again, the twin flame journey has prepared you well to have this deep faith and trust that it's safe to do this, right? Because part of the judgment is about building a defense around ourselves. And so when we let go of judgment, it can feel like we're opening ourselves up or we're leaving ourselves vulnerable in some way. Or it's like, I don't know if I can trust this energy of trying to love everybody, because some people maybe don't have good intentions. And as always, this doesn't mean that we don't have appropriate boundaries, but we can always set boundaries and still love that person, even if we're not allowing that person into our life anymore. If we're, kicking them out of our bubble, we can still love them and wish the best for them. But if we can just trust this energy and we get this going, meaning if we get enough people to get this going, and it's not going to take billions of people. Like, you would be surprised the power of a small group. As I said, I think in my last video, we just need 144,000 people to get in the space of doing that, and that can create great change. But what we'll see is that if we were all acting from this place of love, or we were all acting like our God self, then we would be harmonized into this one energy. We would all be living from the same moral code. Maybe there'd be a little bit of difference here and there, but it's like people would police themselves because people would just be doing the right thing naturally. So, yeah, it's not going to happen overnight, but you are going to start seeing more and more spiritual people beginning to talk about this, I think, and teaching it and helping everybody get to this place. Now, I said that we don't have to force people to our point of view, but getting to this space does mean that you are seeing through all the illusions of the material world. And has other people come on board because their energy is shifting, they will also see through the illusions of the material world. I mean, it's happening. People are seeing it. And it isn't like we have to force people into anything, because one of the problems is like there's different truths for different people because different people believe different things. And so it all gets very tricky about what is the actual truth. And this energy that we find ourselves in, it's like even those things that at one point in time seemed so tangible and real that it was absolutely irrefutable. But even those things these days begin to have this air of, I don't know, is this true or not true? And this is all by design. These are all spiritual tests to help humanity wake up. But the dark energy wants to keep us separated. They want to keep us polarized because that is a complete distraction from what's really important. And what's really important is what is going on inside of us. But, as I said, they want us to look external. This is how they prevent us from taking back our own power and getting our sovereignty, is by making us blame other people or by making us believe that we're victims to other people instead of the powerful beings that we are. I think another piece of this that we're going to see in 2024 is needing to learn how to exercise sovereignty over our creative energy. Because part of this shift is becoming the creator of our reality, right? Which is like just what I talked about. The biggest piece of that is our creative energy. And there's ways that, whether you want to call it the dark energy or the matrix or the control structures, they've devised ways to steal that creative energy. One way by uh, getting us to believe that we're not sovereign, to getting us to believe that we are powerless, but also, like, if you work for a company, your creative power is like siphoned off and fed into like this corporate machine. Another thing they do is they use distorted sexual energy, such as pornography. But really, I mean, even movies and music videos and songs are so uh, overtly sexual to manipulate people's sexual energy and drain that off. Now, if you're kind of uh, moving into this acceleration of your ascension at this time, you're probably finding that you're not resonating with a lot of stuff that's out there. Like you're not resonating with new music. You're not resonating with celebrities anymore at all. And like, obviously when you awakened, they're like non-players in our reality. But for those people that are just awakening or not awake at all, their energy is still being siphoned off by these lower vibration control structures. So I want to read some excerpts from Saint Germain in the I Am Discourse, and this is from Discourse 9. Everyone who manifests in the physical form today has made plenty of mistakes, sometime, somewhere. So let no one take the attitude, I am more holy than thou. But each one's first attitude should be to call on the law of forgiveness. And if he be feeling or sending criticism, condemnation, or hate to another of God's children, a brother or sister, he can never have enlightenment or success until he calls on the law of forgiveness. Further than this, he must say to that person to whom he was feeling disturbed in any way, silently, I send to you the fullness of the divine love of my being to bless and prosper you. This attitude is the only release and freedom from seeming failures of the outer activity. So, what Saint Germain is saying here is when we get caught up into sending condemnation or criticism or hate to another, it's because we have moved from within ourselves to an external reality. I tell you frankly, beloved students and individuals, there is not the slightest hope for you in heaven or earth as long as you persist in holding within your conscious thoughts and feelings of criticism, condemnation, or hate of any description, and that includes mild dislike. This leads us to the very vital point that you are concerned only with your activity in your world. It is not your province to judge another, for you do not know the forces playing upon another or the conditions. You know only the angle that you see of it. And I tell you that if an individual should be entirely innocent of intent to wrong another, the individuals who send criticism, condemnation, or hate to such a one are doing worse than committing physical murder. Why is this so? Because thought and feeling are the only creative power. And while such thoughts and feelings may not touch or harm their objective, they must return and bring with them the conditions sent out by the individual who sent them forth, and always with accumulated energy. So, after all, the one who holds vicious thoughts to another is in reality but destroying himself, his business, and his affairs. There is no possible way of averting it except for the individual to awaken and consciously reverse the currents. So, here Saint Germain tells us what we can do when we maybe feel that instinct to judge another, or if we see someone and we know that they have gone astray. And, even if you're not judging, you still kind of know when people have gone astray, right? So he says, again, supposing someone we love very much seems to be going all awry, what is the first thing the outer world would do? As a rule, to begin sitting in judgment and criticism. The most powerful thing that can and should be done for such an individual by everyone who knows anything of the circumstances is to pour out all of their love and to silently know, I am God in action, is the only controlling intelligence and activity within this brother and sister. So, what he's saying, instead of judging them, is to get used to affirming, I am God in action, is the only controlling intelligence and activity within this brother or sister. See, we have a lot more power than we think we do to heal and affect other people. And, this is the power of Ho'oponopono that I've spoken about, is that we are one. And when we are seeing the negative in people through judgment, we create more of that. But if we affirm that that person is aligned with source energy, and that source energy is the only energy that's working through them, they begin to live in that way, and they overcome whatever distortions they've had. Remember, we're the creators of our reality. To keep silently speaking to that one's consciousness is the greatest help possible to be given. Many times, to remonstrate verbally with an individual sets up a condition of antagonism, intensifying rather than erasing the activity which the silent work would be absolutely certain to accomplish. So he's telling us that we don't need to take this active role. in like telling the other person what they're doing wrong. He's telling us to be silent and to see and affirm the good that we want to see in that person. So, some other affirmations that Saint Germain gives us are: I am the mighty law of divine justice and protection acting in the minds and hearts of individuals everywhere. You can also you can apply and use this with enormous force and power in every way. Another is, I am divine love, filling the minds and hearts of individuals everywhere. As you think on this, you will understand what was done when this home was made a radiating center of the active presence of God. So, for sure, this is going to take some practice and some adjustments. But as I've said, everything that you've gone through up to this point has helped to lead you to be able to integrate these new processes. So, think about it. I get asked all the time, why is the twin flame journey so hard? Well, it's because we have to do this level of work. This is really big stuff. This is like level 10 mastery here, the stuff that we're going to be doing. If we hadn't have done all that work with our twin, we wouldn't be prepared to take things to this level. So let's look at the chart and talk a little bit about the Capricorn new moon. So here's the chart for the Capricorn new moon that's on January 11th. So right away we have this 111 number because it's on January 11th. And with the 111, it's a strong vibration of awakening. We are in this awakening portal still. And one of the things I see happening here in this chart is there's tension between what is truth and what is lie. We see truth is at 6 Capricorn, opposing lie at 7 Cancer. And these two are going to be making challenging aspect to each other as we head into the eclipses. First eclipse is on March 25th. The second eclipse is on April 8th. And that April 8th eclipse is going to be huge because it's going to cut across the United States. So for those of you that are in the US, it's going to be big, and it's going to actually be going right over where I live. I'll be in the viewing range. So, check that out if you're going to be in the eclipse's path. But yeah, getting ahead of myself, but that's going to be an important gateway for us. It's like part of the awakening experience is, what is truth? And as I was saying, the truth, it's like the rug has been pulled out from under truth in many ways, so that we're all having to tune into our own truth on some level. Now, there's going to be a lot of dark energy at play as well over the next few months. And so there's going to be challenges from that to test everyone on what they believe the truth is. So kind of watch for that at the beginning of the year. But here's the new moon. It's at 20 degrees, 44 minutes of Capricorn. And the Sabian symbol for it is a relay race. So one of the things about that Sabian is it's like telling us we can't do this alone, right? A relay race is each person runs their leg and then they pass the baton off to the next person. That's how we are doing this ascension process, this collective awakening. We're all in this race together. But you also can see pretty clearly that the new moon is exactly squaring the north and south node, which is at 20 degrees Libra and 20 degrees Aries. This means that we're dealing with things from past lives that are not resolved yet on a collective level. So when we look at these energies together, We have the South Node in Libra, which is about how we partner with other people. So that's what the karma that we're dealing with. That's why the karmic partners have been such a focus, because we need to heal codependency. We need to set boundaries and that sort of thing at this point in time. Part of our lesson, because where the North Node is the energy of Aries. And this is about us doing it ourselves, doing it our way. And with the new moon squaring it in Capricorn, we're needing to resolve issues around authority figures. So again, things could be coming up. Now, the first authority figure is our parents, and the sun represents the father, the moon represents the mother. So for some of you, it could be a family issue. Otherwise, it could be like your sense of community. It could be something about the government or something about structures within society. Again, when we're talking about judgment, a lot of the judgment that we face comes from these control structures. And if we look at this from a karmic level, we've all been judged and condemned in some way by authority figures. So a lot of that unresolved energy is about being afraid to be ourselves because of judgment coming externally from us and being persecuted. And persecution is something that's going to be big in the energy over the next 3 months. A lot of that is because twin flames and light workers are taking this next step into mission, and we're getting stronger. And so there's a reaction to that, which wants to not allow us. Okay. But like I said, we're sovereign beings, but we have to step out of the fear that anything outside of us can judge us or hurt us. The other key influence here is Chiron, and we have the North Node beginning to work its way into a conjunction with Chiron. And this is going to be very transformative energy, but I feel like a lot of the dark energy is going to be using that in some way. Well, it's probably going to have to do with separation, because the ultimate soul wound we have is separation. So it's probably going to be reinforcing separation somehow, has a way to disempower light workers. It could also have something to do with health issues, or it could be exposure of things that have been related to health issues, because Chiron, of course, is that energy of the healer, healing, and our wounds. So one of the interesting things we see in this chart is the asteroid Lucifer is coming into a conjunction with Chiron and the North Node. And when we get to the Leo full moon at the end of the month, Lucifer will be in the middle of this. And that's why I feel over the next probably 2 to 4 weeks, there's going to be something. Think about something that could happen with health in some way. Could be exposure of something, or it could be that something is going on that's triggering that wound in us. I want to mention here too that at this new moon, the asteroid Lucifer is on the Sabian symbol, a snake coiled near a man and a woman. Obviously, you can see the connection to that one, because biblically, the snake is Lucifer. But I feel like ultimately that activated wisdom in us. And so there could be, so it could be part of the awakening energy. I do feel too that there's been Kundalini activations, and it could be because of this Sabian being triggered, because it talks about a snake. The snake represents Kundalini. And also, when our Kundalini activates, it awakens us, it brings us knowledge. but just watch for something to play out there. And so the new moon is squaring Chiron as well. But remember, when we talk about authority figures, we all carry deep wounds of being persecuted by authority figures or by the wider community, if you will. The new moon is also making an in conjunction to Union. And there's actually the new moon and Karma are forming a yod with asteroid Union. And so this is something that needs to be cleared, this kind of fear of repercussions of authority figures, or the fear of expressing ourselves because of uh, judgment from authority figures, and our karma that needs to be released in order to pave the way for unions. The North Node is on the Sabian symbol, a boxer enters the ring. And so that could be representing some kind of fight as well. Could be like a personal fight, or it could be something that some fight that erupts on the public stage. But we could be feeling defensive with that energy. I want to mention Mercury because Mercury is on a Sabian that mentions bridges. A splendidly built bridge, a heritage of unknown ages, still spans the beautiful and widely primitive stream. I feel like we're being asked to cross this bridge into what is beautiful and unknown. You know, in my collective reading for January, I talked about being able to take a risk in order to gain something. And I feel like this energy is part of that. It's like moving into the beautiful and wildly primitive energy. It's almost like that uncontrollable energy. And so it's a bit unpredictable. It's wild, it's unknown. And yet it's something that has spanned this gap for unknown ages. But for me, it's like getting back into this creative life force energy. It's like our creative energy is becoming much more powerful, somehow more connected to the natural world. I don't know if that's making sense, but that's what I'm getting from it. And then we have Neptune, which is on a new moon, reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects. So we talked about this one at the Capricorn, or no, sorry, the Cancer full moon on the 26th. That was a full moon, but now it's more aligned because it's still on the Sabian and it's a new moon. Now, one of the things we talked about this Sabian one of the things we talked about with the Sabian at that time was how in 2019 it was representing separation from the twins. But now, this time around, I think that it could be representing separation with the karmic partners. Beginning of a new age, letting go of the old and outworn, separations, forks in the road, divorces, new jobs, new era. So I think that's a good place to end it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. It helps me get out there. Please give this video a like. If you would like a personal reading with me, I'll link my website below. And I will speak to you again in a few weeks.